The sea was calm that morning as the sun spilled over the marina, but something felt wrong on the deck of the yacht. Blood smeared near the cabin door, personal belongings abandoned, and two people who had vanished into silence, leaving behind nothing but fear and an empty boat. This case is about a married couple who had everything they ever wanted: a quiet life on the water, a home that floated gently under California sunsets. Tom and Jackie Hawks were not wealthy, but they were rich in all the ways that mattered: love, family, freedom. After years of saving and careful planning, they sold their home and bought a modest yacht they named Well-Deserved. It was not luxury, but it was theirs. Every inch of it held stories of adventure along the Pacific coast. They caught their own fish. They slept under stars. They lived surrounded by the sound of waves and the scent of salt and diesel and fresh ocean wind. In the fall of 2004, their dream began to shift. Their son was expecting his first child, and the idea of becoming grandparents brought a new kind of joy. Tom and Jackie made the bittersweet decision to return to land. They listed their yacht for sale. Not long after, a young couple reached out. They seemed eager. They seemed polite. They wanted the yacht fast and had the money ready. Tom, always cautious, insisted on meeting face to face. He even made sure to take the prospective buyers out on the water before committing. But what no one knew was that the people smiling across from him were hiding something. On a clear November day in Newport Beach, the Well-Deserved was docked just as always. But something was different. There was an eerie stillness, no familiar chatter, no signs of the couple who had made this boat a home. Inside, drawers were left open, papers were scattered. A red smear stained the side of the cabin. It was quiet, but not in the peaceful way Tom and Jackie had come to love. This quiet carried weight, a silence that felt unnatural, like the air itself knew something had gone horribly wrong. The boat was still there, but Tom and Jackie were gone. Tom Hawks had always been the cautious type. Years of working in probation had sharpened his instincts. He trusted his gut and paid attention to people. That made what came next even more chilling, because by all accounts, he had done everything right. He met the buyers in person. He shook their hands. He looked them in the eye. He took them out on the water for a trial run. He even had them fill out paperwork. But somehow, the danger was already on board, and he did not see it coming. Skylar DeLeon was the one who first reached out. He was young and clean-cut, with a story that sounded promising. He claimed to be a former child actor who had found success in real estate. He said he was looking for the right boat to share with his growing family. His wife, Jennifer, played the part well. She brought their infant daughter along. She smiled. She joked. She asked Jackie questions that made her feel safe. It was a performance that masked something much darker, because behind the friendly faces was desperation, debt, a history of violence, and a carefully laid plan to take more than just the yacht. When Tom and Jackie told their sons about the sale, they sounded hopeful. They had agreed to finalize everything soon. The buyers were set to meet them one last time to go over documents and hand off the boat. After that, Tom and Jackie would begin the next chapter of their life on land. That call was the last time anyone heard their voices. Days passed. Messages went unanswered. Calls rang out. Emails bounced back. For a couple who were always in touch, always organized, this silence was not just strange, it was terrifying. Tom's brother Jim felt it in his bones. He had spent decades as a police chief. He knew when something was wrong. He drove to Newport Beach and found the Well-Deserved docked where it should have been. But it looked different, not just physically. The energy had changed. He stepped on board and felt it immediately. The space was cluttered, disordered, as if someone had tried to clean up in a rush, but the wrong details stood out. Personal belongings of Tom and Jackie were still inside. Wallets, clothes, medication, things no one would leave behind on purpose. Then came the stain, red, dried, streaked along the cabin, too high to be fish blood, too strange to ignore. Jim contacted the authorities. The case was now real. Detectives began tracing the yacht sale. The names that surfaced were Skylar and Jennifer DeLeon. When questioned, Jennifer was calm. She said they had not heard from the Hawks either. She said she was worried. She said they had found some of the couple's things on the yacht and had been meaning to return them. It was a performance, but now the police were watching more closely. A deeper background check unraveled the illusion. Skylar was not just a former actor. He was a convicted felon, armed robbery, financial fraud, a string of offenses that painted a very different picture from the one he had shown Tom and Jackie. Police obtained a search warrant and went through the yacht inch by inch. They found traces of something unsettling, but no conclusive evidence. The interior smelled faintly of bleach and sea air. Surfaces were wiped down, but not with precision. Too many fingerprints remained. Too many signs of life cut short. The pressure mounted. Skylar confessed to something, but not everything. He admitted to laundering money, said he had bought the yacht using funds from illegal deals. He denied harming anyone. He denied knowing where Tom and Jackie had gone, but others began to talk. Investigators reached out to people in Skylar's orbit. One of them was Alonzo McChain. He had helped Skylar in the past. He had been on the boat, and when faced with the weight of what had happened, he cracked. His confession sent a cold wave through the room. He said there had been no accidental disappearance, no miscommunication, no misunderstanding. What happened had been planned in advance. Skylar had recruited him, promised a cut of the money, promised it would be easy, but it was not easy, and it was not quick. According to Alonzo, Tom and Jackie were forced to sign documents while restrained. They were tied to an anchor, their eyes open, conscious, terrified. Then they were pushed into the water. As the truth came into focus, the atmosphere shifted from confusion to horror. The idea that this couple had lived their final moments in fear and silence beneath the waves was unbearable. Yet that is what the evidence pointed to. Their bodies were never found. The ocean had taken them. Only the aftermath remained. And through it all, Skylar and Jennifer held their expressions steady. No panic, no remorse. They played their roles to the very end, but the mask had cracked, and the tide was turning. The confession did not come with drama. It came in fragments. A quiet voice inside a sterile room, words that filled the space like slow-moving smoke. Alonzo McChain sat with his hands folded and eyes low. What he described was not abstract. It was specific, and what it revealed cracked the case in half. Tom and Jackie were alive when they boarded the yacht for the final time. It was supposed to be routine, a final walkthrough, a closing handshake. The paperwork was ready. They brought it with them. They trusted the process, trusted the people standing on the dock. Skylar DeLeon and his associates had already planned every moment. From the rope to the weights to the documents they would force them to sign. This was not a robbery gone wrong. It was a blueprint for disappearance. Inside the yacht, the space was tight. The air carried the scent of sea salt and motor oil. The cabin was dim and still. That silence was broken by chaos. According to the testimony, Jackie was tackled first, her body forced down onto the floor. Tom fought. He screamed. He struggled to break free. But he was overpowered by 3 men, hands, duct tape. Panic filled the small room like rising water. In the confined space, every sound echoed. Breathing, shouting, the scuff of shoes, the creak of the walls under sudden movement. The attackers were methodical. Tom and Jackie were restrained. Their wrists and ankles were bound. A towel was shoved into Tom's mouth to muffle his cries. Jackie was forced to sit upright. She was made to sign documents, legal forms, financial transfers. A notary had been brought on board under false pretenses. The signatures were gathered through coercion. It was a deliberate and violent act of control. Every detail had been thought through, every moment choreographed. There was no hesitation. After the papers were signed, the couple was led to the rear deck. It was early evening. The light had started to fade. The sky was still blue, but the air had cooled. There was no wind, no noise, but the gentle tap of the tide against the hull. Their bodies were tied to an anchor, a heavy steel object built to hold a vessel in place. It was wrapped with rope, tight, final. Jackie looked down into the water. Tom looked at her. No one spoke. Then they were pushed. There was no splash reported, just the sound of water closing over them. Then silence, cold and unbroken. The Pacific does not return what it takes easily. The weight pulled them downward fast. They were conscious when they hit the water. They were aware as the cold gripped them. That detail was confirmed by the confession. They were aware, and they were together. On the surface, the yacht was wiped clean, or at least attempted. The anchor was gone, the deck hosed down, but blood remained in places they missed. A smear on the wall, a handprint that had not dried fully. That trace was enough. That detail made detectives stop and look closer. And once the confessions began, the weight of the truth became inescapable. The couple's SUV was discovered abandoned in Mexico, a staged cover story. Skylar had tried to create the illusion that Tom and Jackie had driven south and vanished on their own, but the timeline did not hold. Surveillance footage, financial records, cell tower data, it all led back to the boat, back to Newport Beach, back to the final meeting that was anything but routine. Detectives searched Skylar's home. Inside, they found the Hawks' personal belongings, their identification, their bank cards, even their camera, items that should have been packed away for retirement. Instead, they were stacked in drawers like trophies, cold, ordinary, infinitely damning. When the news broke, the public reaction was instant. People who had known Tom and Jackie were stunned into silence. These were not reckless people. They were measured, disciplined, grounded. What happened to them did not feel random. It felt targeted, as if trust itself had been turned against them. Skylar DeLeon showed no visible remorse. Neither did Jennifer. She had helped lure the couple. She had been the one to convince Jackie that everything was safe. She had used the presence of her infant daughter as a layer of false security. And in the days after the murder, she smiled for photographs as if nothing had changed. This was not a heat-of-the-moment crime. It was calculated, cold, done with planning and patience. The anchor was never recovered. The bodies were never found. Only the testimony of the men who watched it happen remains. And in that testimony lives a moment of silence that no one can forget. A final descent into darkness with no way back. The yacht remains docked in Newport Beach, cleaned, sold again, its deck scrubbed countless times. But no amount of polish can erase what happened there, beneath the paint, beneath the fiberglass. Something lingers, a silence too heavy for the waves to carry away. Tom and Jackie's bodies were never recovered. No funeral, no burial, just the cold weight of an anchor somewhere in the Pacific. Their sons were left without the chance to say goodbye, without a place to visit. Only memories of voices on the phone, a final email, a smile captured on a photo that now feels impossibly distant. Skylar and Jennifer DeLeon were sentenced. So were the others. Justice moved forward, but there was no relief in the courtroom. Only the dull ache of knowing that the people who caused this never once looked back. No apology, no moment of reflection, just paperwork, just chains. To this day, the cabin where Tom and Jackie signed their final documents has not been rebuilt. The notary involved was never harmed. He still remembers the sound of pens scratching paper, the way no one made eye contact, the way the air inside that room felt wrong, thick, like breathing through cotton. Sometimes the ocean looks calm, even when something terrible lies just beneath the surface. Sometimes the most violent things happen in quiet, without blood, without noise, just a final drop into darkness that no one ever sees again. Tom and Jackie's final expressions were never seen. Their voices were never heard again. The exact moment they vanished beneath the surface left no physical trace. The anchor remains lost. The ocean kept their bodies. Jennifer's role in the planning was never fully mapped. Some of the documents signed that day were never found. The notary never returned to the marina. Skylar's past included other financial schemes, some still under seal. And the camera belonging to the Hawks was missing its last memory card.